morning.
We're here with you today from Channel 5.3 Economic News, and we have just received breaking news about the Federal Reserve System.
We sure have, Mindy. As it turns out, polls show that 123% of the United States doesn't even know what the Federal Reserve System is.
That's preposterous.
Well, we're here today to fix that. Where should we begin? What is the Federal Reserve System?
Well, you see, Ammon, it's basically a central bank that provides stability to the struggling banking system by regulating its policies.
That's correct. It was established in 1913 after a major panic in 1907. People came from all around and tried to pull all their money out of the banks at the same time. Banks everywhere nearly collapsed.
Wow, that's very interesting. But why do we have such a system?
I thought you'd never ask. With us here today, from the backwoods of Alaska, the expert, the legend, Aaron Day.
Thank you, Ammon. What would you guys like to know?
I want to know why they exist. What purpose do they serve?
The Federal Reserve is like a safety cushion. You see, it protects our financial side.
Yes, but why would we need that?
Well, before them, there are all sorts of currencies or types of money used in the U.S., and banking policies and inflation were crazy. They provide order, standards, and stability to monetary systems, which makes our lives easier and simpler. They address economic issues with authority and control our nation's funds.
Well, that sounds like a huge job. How in the world do they do that?
It's very simple. You see, they split it into three parts: the Board of Governors, Reserve Banks, and the Federal Open Market Committee.
That sounds rather complex, actually.
To settle this, we have a representative from Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Ammon. Hello and good morning. I'm Yadira Gonzalez, here to talk about the Board of Governors. I, along with 6 other colleagues, have been selected by the President of the United States and approved by the Senate. I still have 8 years left in my 14-year term.
Now, Yadira, do you all get selected together?
Oh no, we get replaced every 2 years by a new member.
And do you all have your own personal schedule as you choose?
No, we don't. There's a chairman and a vice chairman who gather our work and report to Congress twice a year on the Fed's monetary policy, objective, and financial goals, and also testify along with us before Congress on other issues.
Okay, but what do you do day to day as a governor on the board?
Well, we lead committees that study economic issues at hand and how to solve them. We also serve as supervisors watching over banks of all sorts to make sure they follow the rules. Additionally, we oversee the activities of the reserve banks, but most importantly, we serve on the FOMC.
Fantastic! Thank you for joining us today.
Well, what is the FOMC anyways?
We'll touch on that in a bit. First, we'll take a call.
Hello, Willy Wellington from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. You're on with us at Channel 5.3 Economic News. What is your question?
Hello. I wanted to set up a checking account with the Federal Reserve, but my wife says that can't be done. Why not?
Well, Willy Wellington from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, to answer, your wife's correct. Think about the Federal Reserve as a banker's bank. In other words, they're a bank for banks as they store their extra currency. They also supervise these commercial banks as well as process national payments.
They're not a bank that you'd find on the street. They are at a national level and have a board of 9 members that complete all those tasks.
Oh, shucks. Well, thanks for the information.
No problem. Goodbye.
Now, could you please answer my question about the FOMC?
Fine. Johnny Five, take it away.
Okay, let's start. FOMC stands for Friends of Miley Cyrus. This
False. FOMC stands for Federal Open Market Committee. Let's break this down. This is the group that is in charge of the monetary policies. Now, to achieve these policies, they use 3 tools. First, the discount rate. This is the interest rate that reserve banks are charged for short-term loans. Second, reserve requirements. These are the amount of funds required to be held in banks at all times. And third is the open market operations, the buying and selling of government securities or things like bonds. This is the one policy that they truly fulfill by the FOMC. Interestingly enough, the chairman for the FOMC is the same as that of the Board of Governors.
That was very helpful. However, I must ask you,
How is this reserve system structured?
This one's interesting. There are 12 reserve banks. They have 24 total branch locations throughout the country, most in the East. To keep track of their money, they have assigned a number and letter to each reserve. If you look on a dollar bill, the letter of the reserve that it was issued through appears on the left. These reserve banks execute laws and policies written by Congress and the Board of Governors. Also, they pay close attention to the economy and bring concerns to a national perspective. Each of these reserves also work closely with local banks to sprout the best financial status possible.
Wow! It's amazing how well they are organized.
Yeah, but I still don't understand how they're able to keep it all under control.
Well, the Federal Reserve supervises and regulates all of these banks.
What's the difference between supervising and regulating, and how exactly do they do this?
That's a great question. Why don't we ask specialist Yadira Gonzalez?
Oh, it's very easy, you see. Regulation deals with creating the actual rules, while supervision covers the enforcement of these rules.
Oh, thank you. I understood that regulating and supervising help maintain secure and consistent banking, but I never realized the difference between them.
Let's wrap it up and go over what we've learned.
Let's sum this up. The Federal Reserve is both federal and public. The federal government cannot fire them just because of disagreement. They need to be transparent and that they need to release information about their transactions, meetings, you name it. We've introduced you to the Federal Reserve Banks made up of the Board of Governors, the 12 Reserve Banks, and the Federal Market Committee. The Feds have three main responsibilities: conducting monetary policies, supervising banks, and providing financial services. Not only is the Fed absolutely essential for the economy, it's incredibly effective too. Their banks are close at hand, ready for financial crisis anywhere in the U.S. The Federal Reserve as a whole makes a successful banking system and a better economy. Thank you for learning with us. This is Yadira Gonzalez signing off from Channel 5.3 Economic News.